What is up, ladies and gentle nerds? It's your boy Graham, also known as HamHawks42, and we are here with another exciting installment of Overthinking MTG. Alright, so we're on the Gatherer. We're going to go ahead and scroll down, hit that random card button that we do every day, and today we are looking at the Rhox Faithmender. Alright, so this guy is a rhinoceros human, apparently. Okay, well, wow. And so Rhox Faithmender, it's 3 generic and a white for a creature Rhino Monk. That is a 1/5. Its creature type is actually Rhino Monk, and that's exactly what it looks like. You've got a rhino wearing like a cloth shawl and a robe, very much a Friar Tuck kind of a thing going on. That's the vibe I'm getting from this guy, that kind of traditional European monk, except it's got the head of a rhinoceros. So that's that. And it just seems to have it. Doesn't seem, it just is a rhinoceros monk. All right, so it's a 1/5 with a life link. So when it deals damage, you gain life equal to the damage dealt. Okay, neat. I mean, the fact it only has 1 power, but whatever. If you would gain life, gain twice that much life instead. Ooh, all right. That's getting a little saucy, and that is going to completely negate my previous concern. So it only has one power and 5 toughness. So when I see that, I immediately think blocker. Okay, we definitely have a guy who's going to sit back, be able to absorb a bunch of damage, and if the creature is especially small or especially squishy on the way in, if it only has 1 toughness, it might actually be able to kill the thing. Which in decks, that run that go wide with a lot of little creatures, blockers like this can actually be really beneficial. The big fat like 0 power, 5/6 toughness blockers are nice, but having that 1 or 2 toughness or 1 or 2 power really makes a difference and can really be helpful in swinging the game in your favor rather than just keeping you alive for a little bit. Yeah, and then this guy has an added bonus. So if your opponent is attacking in, not only do you have the opportunity to block the attacker, but when you do, you're going to be gaining at least 2 life on top of that. So in decks where you're running a lot of different life link effects, or you have payoffs when you gain life and different triggers happen, you have the potential to of it getting out of hand here. So right now, with a lot of the life gain shenanigans we see with the Ajani's Pridemate, Bloodthirsty Aerialist, those types of cards that put counters on it and are triggered every single time you gain life, are concerned about the number of times you gain life, not the amount of life you gain. So Rhox Faithmender doesn't really synergize perfectly with those strategies, even though you might look at it and say, wait, but it's life gain. Why would I not want to put life gain in a life gain deck? Well, you do want to have life gain in a life gain deck, but it all depends on what type of life gain you're going for. If you want to beat your opponent with fatties, and those fatties get bigger because you have gained life, or you want to whittle your opponent down with something like Sanguine Bond, that whenever you gain life, your opponents lose life. If you want to do that kind of thing, um, you know, well, I mean, Sanguine Bond actually, Rhox Faithmender would still be helpful because in that case, it's each point of life you gain that counts. Like that's really what matters. So you have those options. But yeah, so I mean, if the trigger you're looking at, or if the payoff you're looking at says whenever you gain life, do something, then Rhox Faithmender isn't going to help. However, if you're looking at, unless it says whenever you gain life, do such and such for each life, or equal to the life you gained. Um, yeah, but being able to double all of your life gain could get really big if your payoffs are related to having excess life. There's an Ajani right now that where you win the game if you have like more than, I think it's, what is it, 20 points higher than, or like twice your starting life total, you win the game. Like that kind of thing can be super powerful with a Rhox Faithmender because it just ensures that that happens. There's also another amazing mono white card in Commander that I absolutely adore. Actually built an entire deck around this little guy, and he's not a very good commander, but in the 99 he rips. It's Runetail. What is it? Runetail Kitsune Ascendant. There's a cycle from Kamigawa of monocolor legendary creatures that actually can flip when you meet a certain condition, and when you meet that condition and they flip, they actually become legendary enchantments. The idea is they like gain enlightenment and achieve some kind of ascension where they're no longer bound by their own physical forms, and they become these other things. Well, With Runetail, once you have, I believe it's 25 life or 30 life. Once you've hit 30 life, you flip him. And once you flipped him, the enchantment, that is, I believe, Runetail's essence, that enchantment has the static ability of prevent all damage that would be dealt to creatures you control. So the moment he flips over, you're playing on God mode. Your creatures just can't take damage. And so that's pretty great and pretty fun. And the best part about that particular card is it flips over immediately when you're playing Commander because your starting life total is 40. So unless somebody in the first 3 turns, oh, that's the other thing, he only costs 3 to drop. Just throwing that out there. But he is mono white. Um, yeah. So in a deck that can run Runetail in the 99 and consistently get that payoff, now you're gonna want, the reason that he sucks as a commander is because it's mono white and you're locked to just white cards, and that limits your options dramatically. There are all kinds of different places on the internet where you can see all about that. That is a discussion that has been going on just for an incredibly long time. But to get back to Rhox Faithmender, there are what life gain strategies with incredibly cool payoffs. Those exist. Those are out there. And this guy can slot into those beautifully. Because not only is he gaining you life, but he's doubling your life gain, which is something that it's easy to dismiss life gain as being a strategy that isn't really that great unless you have some kind of really big payoff. But the truth is, being able to gain a bunch of life can keep you in a game for an incredibly long time. So as long as you have methods by which to slow down your opponents, well, and ultimately stop your opponents, you can grind them out and outvalue them pretty consistently as long as that life total's rising up. Because really the only strategy that doesn't care about that are ones that are running alternate win cons, like Thassa's Oracle, like Ajani, or ones that are milling you. And so in those cases, go, a long grindy game where you're not worried about your life total, but you're really worried about the cards in your library. Okay, life gain doesn't help you in those situations. So there are some bad matchups, but in the end, being able to gain life, like going up against a burn deck, gaining life is insane. Like, that's, mono red aggro or burn hates life gain because they are purely based on damage. How much damage can I get to your face, and can I put enough of it there so that you don't have that you can't get to your game plan fast enough. And life gain completely pumps the brakes on that. It makes it so that, like, okay, yeah, you're pumping out a lot of damage. That's great. Can you pump out twice that damage? Yeah, I didn't think so. Um, yeah, and this guy, I gotta say, I like him. Rhox Faithmender, his stat line isn't great. 1-5 for 4 is kind of meh. It's really expensive for what you're getting, and even with lifelink, okay. But it's really that static ability of doubling all of your life gain. If you would gain life, gain twice that much life instead. That's lovely. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. So this guy, I don't know that there's a competitive place for him, especially in the current. He's from M13, so I'm trying to think. I think kind of in terms of standard nowadays, like if he were to slot into standard, would he fit? And I don't think he'd fit in the current life gain strategies very well at all, except as he looks like he could fit in the sideboard against mono red rush, because that is something that we see a lot of right now. And this, a 5 toughness backside that could double your life gain in the current life gain in the current life gain deck that we see out there today. Something like this as a way to really to really stabilize and really just put your foot on the throat of your opponent's strategy if you're going up against a mono red rush or a like a cavalcade go wide kind of thing. This there's a place for it. It might, it could potentially work. Obviously, it's not standard legal, so that's irrelevant. But yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, and it's a rhino. It's a rhino monk. Who doesn't love a good monk rhino? Yeah, let's go ahead and say that. Oh, and there's flavor text. Can't forget the flavor text because that's some of the best overthinking we get to do here. Roxes who live long enough to retire from war lend support with their extensive knowledge of combat injuries. Oh, that's pretty cool. So this monk, he is a former warrior. He's a retired soldier, perhaps a retired general, but a retired warrior who, as he's aged, uh, has become more peaceful and has decided that he wants to help others and heal others instead of hurting them. That's really cool. I like that. Kind of the repentant Rhino. That's really interesting. You know what? I would love to sit down and have a drink with this guy, because I bet he's got some stories. It's not, and not to mention, it's not every day you get to sit down and have a drink with a Rhino. I mean, hey, that'd be great, right? But yeah, I'd love to hear the stories about the previous wars that he was involved in, and also the Rocks, which Rhox. If I'm not mistaken, I think there actually was a card that was printed in seventh edition. I want to say no, it was eighth edition. I think it was called just Rocks, which is if I'm remembering correctly, it was like a 5/5 for 6 that could deal its damage directly to an opponent and could regenerate. But that was a much more bestial bestial. It was a beast, and it was very animalistic. It was on all fours. It had, it didn't wear clothes. So this I find interesting, and I'm wondering. I'll double check that, make sure I'm not getting my names mistaken. But I find it interesting that the name Rhox comes up here as the name for this Rhino people. That's interesting. I don't know the story behind that. I'll have to look into it. Yeah, M13 was right smack dab in the middle of my the years when I wasn't playing. So that's interesting. Yeah. So Rhox Faithmender. Good stuff. Rhino monks. Who knew, right? I know this game has all kinds of fun, weird stuff. I had no idea there was a rhino monk in this game. You learn something new every day. All right, guys, it's been fun. Thank you so much for hanging out. You can check me over at Twitch, twitch.tv/hamhocks42. I'm also in Discord. Check the description for that. Thanks so much for hanging out, and I will catch you next time.